Hello, everybody. I'm back with a few more interview questions for Kubernetes. These questions are already on my repo. I'm going to put a link to that in the description below. So if you prefer a written format for the same content, you can go through them in the repo that I have. It has the same questions and answers. But in a video format, I can talk more about the context of each question. It helps a little bit better. All right. So the first question today is, can you think of a scenario where you would need a daemon set would do a better job than a deployment? So first of all, you need to understand what a daemon set is, right? A daemon set is something, the containers or pods that run on every node of the cluster, right? As opposed to deployment, the pods can go back and forth. Maybe they run on every node, maybe they don't. It depends on your configuration, on your settings, right? But the daemon set means these pods will run on every single node. Now, why would you need that? Well, it comes in handy if you're trying to do logging or monitoring. In those two scenarios, you might benefit from having some pods that run on every single node, no matter what. If you through scaling you bring up new nodes, there'll be new pods running of the same type on the new node. And if you delete a node, then it's gone, right? For those pods that are gone from that node. So that's why in those situations, a daemon set does a better job than deployment. All right. Next question: how can you move workloads from one node to another? So let's say that you're running some kind of deployment or pod, whatnot, right? And three of those pods are running on node one, right? How can you force them to move to node two or three, right? So what you do is you run a command called Cordon. So you say kubectl cordon and the node name. Cordoning means you are keeping from any new pods from coming into this node. So it's like forcing a taint on that node, right? No new pods can come in. Now, once you've done that, then what you can do is you can drain the same node. You can say kubectl drain node name. What that will do is that will take the pods that are running in this node and move them to some other node. That's the way to move a workload. By the way, when people say workload, they really mean pods and whatnot, right? And deployment. So they will move the pods from one node to another. Next question, or last question for this video, is cluster IP public or private? So there's a context to this question, right? When you have services that are running, services are basically front end for your deployments. For example, you have a web server running, right? Your service is the front end that has a DNS name that's associated with it. So when people hit that DNS, they hit that service, and that brings you back to the pod that are servicing those requests, right? Now, there are 5 ways you can run services in Kubernetes. 2 of them are ClusterIP and NodePort. ClusterIP is an IP that's private. It's only good internally, right? So if you define a service that with a cluster IP, you can only get to it from within the Kubernetes. For example, the DNS service that runs internally within Kubernetes cluster is probably a cluster IP. I haven't looked it up, but it should be that because it's private. That's the idea, right? Uh, However, if you want your service to be publicly available, you want your service, there are other ways of doing it, but one easy way of doing it is just defining a service with a NodePort IP, a NodePort type that will make it accessible on each node, and each node has a public IP address. So when you hit the DNS for that service, you can be directed to any of the nodes that's running, and there's a port that's open for that service for every single node. It will then proxy it to the pod that it knows about through the deployment. All right, so that's the difference between a cluster IP service versus a NodePort service. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next Kubernetes interview video.